Grove, that's historical. That's yeah, because when it became a city, that's when it really spread. Because it wasn't anything but it was just country, because where the old Hayden, the restaurant is now, that was farm there, the Wheeler Farm, Coldstone Farm, the Lewis's Farm. It was nothing but farm. We were surrounded by farms, and we knew nothing but farm work.
Out here where Lee Avenue and Center Street come together, from there on it was farm. Where Sudley Road ends where Grand Avenue ends at Sudley, that was farms, where the hospital is and all that out there. Going to Centerville, when you come around the curve and now it merges, but this street, the gravel street down by the railroad track was not it was in Old Town, but it was not used that much. It was a gravel road. And where they came together from there on to Centerville, that was all farmland. And the same thing of when you go out Grand Avenue where Sudley, where the townhouses are, Georgetown South, where that is, that was all farmland. So you could drive out Centerville Road and you could see Liberia. All the trees weren't there then. And the only thing that would block your view would be when the corn was in the field was so high that you couldn't see Liberia for the corn. Then after the corn was cut and reaped, then you could see it again, because he always farmed the whole thing.
My parents built a house behind the Manassas Shopping Center. It was the only house, or one of the first houses there. It was so dense, we had to evacuate one time for a forest fire. And we could hear Breeden's, what is that? Liberia. They were living in Liberia at the time, and he would do the fox hunt back there, and you could hear the dogs and the horns occasionally when they did that. But it was very dense back there.
Everything was done by horses, farming, plowing the fields, even working the garden. With a horse, my dad had a horse. He could talk to that horse. He'd go left or right. And he worked his garden and everything. He always had a beautiful garden. And farmers would come together and help each other to thresh wheat and fill the silos and stuff like that. That's all the time he had help that. But all the other time, it was 5 of us boys. And my dad, we were all out there. We pretty much kept everything going. And I was telling somebody about the jail over there. I said, a man lived there. At the jail, I don't think the jail had over 4 or 5 cells. In that whole building, it was just one building there. And it was the one jail that didn't have all the sheriffs like we got now. One sheriff, a man by the name of John Curlin. He did all the serving of the warrants, arresting of the whole county. It was just the one. And then after he retired or passed, I don't know how many came in there.
It was just, Manassas it incorporated the county as well. And what was it, 5,000 people? It was small. It was really small. And everybody, they were coming from Independent Hill and Martha coming into our high school, because that was all there was. So.
Oh, it's built up tremendous. Oh my goodness. One time it was just 2-lane road, one going, one coming. Sometimes some of these rural roads, you almost got off into the ditch to pass a car when you made it. You had to stop and give him room to get by.
From a 2-lane road between Manassas to 66, which 66, I don't know if it existed when I came here.
I think not.
And
No, I know not.
no 66. I mean, it was just really a little small town. And when I first arrived, I was not all that excited about it at my age, so it turned out pretty good for me.
Mayor, you mentioned the Piedmont building, and I'm sure you guys remember this. Do you remember going to the Piedmont building election nights?
Oh, yeah.
After the election was over and they were counting the ballots, and you'd go in there and you'd get donuts from Manassas Bakery, and somebody'd be up on the ladder writing down with chalk on a chalkboard the results of the election. You remember that?
I've lived here all my life. I lived on Sudley Road when it was dirt and 2 lanes. We always had the best time. I wish it was still as small as it was back then, because you knew everybody. You went shopping to the shopping center or something and you'd see all your friends there.
If I look at the 42 years, it's changed a lot. When we first moved here, I was having people for dinner and I wanted to buy a loaf of French bread. I wanted to make garlic bread. I couldn't find French bread in Manassas. We have good stores. We have supermarkets that are the envy of all my friends from Michigan.
Well, it's changed, but the essence of it is the same, and that is the diversity. You know, coming from Alexandria, I really didn't expect coming 50 miles out, 40 miles out to find so much rich ethnic cultures. And I was pleasantly surprised when I first got here. And even though it's changed a bit, it's still rich. It's just more groups have added to it. And it's just like a soup, you know, sometimes the more ingredients you add, it tastes better. You know what I mean? So I really enjoy the diversity.
Our cultural growth has been tremendous. Ancient Home does services for Latinos, Islamics, Muslims that has never been done before. And of course, we have deep relationship, you know, with former mayors that we've served in their families, and we hope to continue.
Yeah, a lot of diversity. I see, especially in sports and football. There's a lot of, I think we're 70% at Osborne now, probably Hispanic, or it's just a lot more diversity, and I see it in sports and football. So, but it's good to see everybody come out and play. It's a sport that everybody should enjoy and should try, and we're hoping to get numbers back up. And again, it's like being here. I love doing what I do.
As a whole, you're getting a piece of everything. You're getting like apartment buildings, houses, businesses, food places that you don't normally get on the East Coast. Like at this point, like they're building like a cookout up this way. Yeah, restaurants. It's just getting a little bit of everything, really.
But it's still good to have the old feel, the old school feel, and being able to see people that you grew up with back in the 70s. The Tibbs, the Nickens, Musgrove, the Spitlers, the Lawlers, Trey Laws, and that group. But just a lot of families that still remain here, and that we grew up and graduated with, and their kids and their grandkids. So the Lane, Ronnie Lane, and what's the other?
Again, just being Mexican, I was born in Puebla, Mexico, and being to see able to see the changes of the stores and just having access to any Mexican products, or just being able to see being celebrated in Manassas City. So I'm very thankful to go to Manassas City, and like recently the Art Factory, they had a Day of the Dead event, and I was like, oh my goodness, I have to go because that's part of my culture. And I just love that they're incorporating these things that again makes me feel at home, because Manassas is home to me, so I don't have to leave.
I think for me it's when I moved here 20 years ago, it was not having the what's the word I'm looking for, the accessibilities of products, or the language that I grew up in back in Houston, huge city. So in time, I started to see just stores opening up and restaurants opening up that match what I was seeing in Houston, also in the schools, the diversity, not just, not just Hispanics, but just from other cultures, and the mixture of students learning from each other and families coming together in the schools, just being open to, the different cultures coming in and having cultural nights and having books that represent differences and that it's okay to be different or speak a different language and embracing that.